I have had many people tell me on this channel that how they don't like my style of color grading. Over the years, however, I have learned that the magic lies in getting the basics right. Not to get the most expert level stuff very right, but to get the very basic stuff very right. And over the last few months, I've seen a lot of people come on the channel and they have said that they really like the color grading on this channel. And let me tell you something, what they have seen is not color grading at all. What they've seen is basic LUT transformation, basic color space transformation, knowing the N log well, shooting it right. And then in the post, I have just given it little touches because I think Nikon already gives you a very good starting point. The colors are really accurate. At the same time, the colors are very lively. So let me just take you through my philosophy of how I look at shooting with N-Log 2, because really the entire thing begins before you press the shutter. So the first thing is that do not underexpose. It's very important. Do not clip highlights as well. So you need to get your exposure just right so that you don't clip your highlights, but at the same time you're taking enough information from the shadows as well. So the rule I follow is to sort of expose the N-log, whether it is on my ZF or Z63 or Z8. I ensure that I expose as much as possible. I give it as much light as possible. I ensure that I'm just 1/3 of a stop below the clipping point for the brightest spot in the scene. Ensure also that the lighting ratios are right. Oftentimes, if you have backlight and the backlight is too strong, you're going to get some highlight clipping. Okay, so ensure that you understand your camera well, you understand the leniency, the range of N-log well, and then light it right. Get the lighting ratios right. If the ratio is too extreme, then you may have clippings in some areas. On some other areas, you may have noisy shadows, right? It doesn't matter whether it is a Z6 III or any other camera, that is going to happen. The other thing about lighting is that you should also ensure that the temperature is set right. Essentially, what I use is I typically take a still shot in the flat profile on my Z6 III or on my Z8, kind of get a sense of how it's going to look finally. I get a sense of where the temperature settings are. I kind of, if I need a colder image or a more warmer image somewhere in the scene, so I typically do that, and I ensure that the temperature from my lighting is just right. It's not too extreme. Understand that going extreme is a problem. You have to maintain the art of subtlety. Next point, do not shoot in 8-bit. 8-bit is fine, but if you're going to grade your image, do not shoot in 8-bit. Use at least 10-bit N-log in H.265, ideally in 6K on the Nikon Z6 III and not in 4K. The reason I recommend 6K is because 6K gives you a bit more in the way of color richness. At the same time, you're a bit more sort of, you have more flexibility in post when it comes to the resolution. But I overall feel that the 6K does have slightly better color richness, and that's just my experience. That's how I feel. It can be factually wrong, but I know that I would never shoot in 4K. If I need 4K, I'm going to go for 6K 30 or 6K 60. The other thing is, when I have an important project, I go for 10-bit 422, and that's ProRes HQ for Z6 III and Z8. I do think ProRes HQ in a controlled environment is going to give me deeper and inkier colors, and that's something I really look forward to. Also, when I want a little granularity in the picture, I want a little bit of grain, but I want it to look very natural, I actually skip normal N-log in both 10-bit 422 or 10-bit 420. I go straight to N-raw, and in normal quality, the high quality is very heavy. So I go for typically 4K normal quality N-raw or 4K 6K normal quality N-raw. If this is a long running video, then I don't go for N-raw. But if I'm just doing product shoots, I need 10 seconds here, 60 seconds there, and I'm going to put the footage together later on. Typically go for N-raw. Also, space is a consideration. If you have the space, if you have enough storage with you, go for N-raw if you can manage it. Also, what I typically do is not use the Nikon LUTs provided by Nikon. Not even the red LUTs. I know the red LUTs are great, but I do think that they have a certain kind of look. I typically go for a neutral look where I want to have control over the kind of look I'm creating. So I would typically go for CST, color space transformation within DaVinci Resolve, and that gives me fantastic output finally. When you are treating your highlights and shadows, you push the shadows gently. I don't typically go beyond 50% if I have to. If I see some noise, I add very light noise reduction, very light, like minimum. Okay, I bring it below what's the default setting in the noise reduction mode typically. So it's a very light touch of noise reduction, 2 frames, and not even better, but low quality noise reduction is enough to give me an image that's really cool, that's really nice, and with enough richness and detail. A very good combination of richness, depth of color, and detail as well. So these are my basic things. I'm not talking about color grading here. If you do these things right, you're going to see huge improvement in your final output. I think a lot of people think of nice color grading when you do not see a washed out sky in the image. You do feel that this was shot well, this is graded well. So like I told you, do not let the camera clip the highlights. It's fine, you can push the shadows up a bit, use artificial light whenever possible. So invest a bit more in light. I have one 300 watt light from Godox, I have a couple of 150 watt lights from Godox, and to be honest, I'm thinking of getting a 600 watt light for some situations when I want a bit more contrast and I want the shadow highlight interplay a bit more. Light under control situations always gives you more out of your camera, no matter what brand you're using. The depth of color from the Nikon cameras are fantastic, both the Z8 and the Z6 III. I love them. So I just try to understand how the camera reacts. So I do a lot of practice shoots, test shoots, and I sort of play with the final footage a lot. And I've seen that the more I play, the more I get to know how N-Log reacts to different kinds of color grading, and the better output I have. I also typically save my node structure on DaVinci Resolve. I save them for later modification. When I save them, I give it a date, and that really has helped me over the years. And I do think, by the way, I have tried the same thing with Sony S-Log3, but I haven't really found the kind of result I've found with Nikon's N-Log. So that's why I prefer N-Log more than Sony's S-Log3. We're going to talk about Lumix very soon. We're going to see how Lumix actually is different from N-Log. I've used Lumix in the past. Very interesting. Panasonic Vlog is very good, but the same principles would apply there also. Let me know what you think of this video. Help me reach 10,000 subscribers soon by subscribing to the channel, and like the video if you like the conversation here. Let me know what you want to see more of. I'm going to see you soon with another one soon.